When you're excited, sometimes that excitement stops you from seeing small little cracks. When you're excited and something is new and it's the first day, you don't see some of the weaknesses that could be exploited. Excitement will have you look at new players and think that just by virtue of them being new, all of the problems are fixed. Excitement will have you overlooking some of the work that those other players have done. The difference between the Orlando Pirates that played last week versus Polokwane City and the Orlando Pirates that played today versus Sekhukhune was that Orlando Pirates last week was in a cup game. I call Pirates an emotional team. So that emotion, the stirring, the celebrations, the newness of the season, the newness of the cup, how important cups are to Pirates, carried Pirates through that Polokwane City game. But that Pirates that played last week, the defense that had two men and didn't have cover, was the same as this week. The midfield disconnect between the base of the midfield and the attackers was still the same, Pirates. The wing play that doesn't exist, where Apolis is dropping in and Fukeng is dropping in, Radiopan is dropping in and Tito's disappearing, was no different to what happened last week. But the difference is that Sekhukhune came in with a plan. If you watched my review, I said that Sekhukhune in the league with Abolinda Mtambo, with Abo Bradley Grobler, with Abo Keletso Magalwa, with Abo Thabo Munare, with so many different players there, is one of the best teams we have in the league, third, if not fourth. And they come with a certain experience. Last week, we saw Mashiane play a centre-forward role where 2 or 3 times he gave Pirates' defence a problem because he was a physical presence that was taking Usbisi and Umbogazi and confusing them. So what might happen if I bring in a Grobler, one of the best marksmen space-wise, one of the best centre-forwards in the league, third top goal scorer in the league? Whatever. What happens? What happens when you have a Figo and a Keletso Magalwa who are not afraid to press you when you don't have the ball? What happens? Or when you have the ball, sorry. What happens? What happens when there's a Sekhukhune that's willing to counter on you with a plan and take advantage of that space right in front of the defense? I said last week that you're going to remember Makaula, because Nduli may be a better ball player or comfortable on the ball. But there's a defensive cover that Pirates lacks when your left and right backs both push up. A problem that they've had since when? How many times have we spoken about Hotto being gone? How many times have we spoken about Van Rooyen, it was being gone, or even Munyane, and leaving them with a 2. But the difference was you had somebody in Makaula who could go and cover those spaces. If you look at the text that Sekhukhune put onto Pirates, they were exploiting the wide spaces. And because now they have a central person in Grobler, those 2 centre backs can't go out as simply to go and get the ball. And if not for Sekhukhune players not being able to look up, if they just looked up a couple more times, they would have had so many more goals. Keletso Magalwa was one of the biggest culprits of not playing that ball when he should have played it. So now you have a Pirates that everybody said could play the ball, but they're still doing the same thing that Pirates did because there's no link. Okay, Nduli gets the ball in midfield. What's his play? Back to Mbogazi. Oh, what happens then? We play the long ball. I said in my podcast, my latest podcast episode, that the difference between Orlando Pirates and Mamelodi Sundowns, we'll get onto them in other review, but the difference between Mamelodi Sundowns and Orlando Pirates is that Pirates plays with emotion and Pirates plays with individual brilliance. That is what wins it for Pirates. Sundowns can do it too. Last season, you speak about Abo Lucas Ribeiro Costa stepping up sometimes, Abo Reina stepping up sometimes when the team wasn't playing well. But the excitement is not what wins you the league, the exciting moments of individual brilliance. What wins you the league and what makes Sundowns different is that when Sundowns doesn't have individual brilliance, they have systems that can go get him a goal, and then they go. When Ribeiro Costa is not playing up to his best, there's a system where we can put a ball here and put a ball there, and by the numbers, we can go and score and win. I said in my conversations on my channel that what happens when Relay's natural ability is not quite there? Can you tell him, okay, Relay, today is not working out. Can you do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5? And if we do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5 enough times, we may be able to force enough pressure to get a goal. Orlando Pirates is killed by these games in the league. These are the games. Mamelodi Sundowns drop points just before you. Now you have a chance to come in and go win a game and gain a 2-point lead. Do you know why? Because today is the 8th. Today's the 8th of August, the 9th of August. There's going to be a 9th of August game where they drop points. And a random 17th of August game where they drop points, and a random game number 23, and a random game number 25, another random game number 22 where they drop points. And when you look back on the season, these are the games that are the ones that you are meant to be winning in order to go win the league. These ones, the random games, it's the first game of the season. The players are still getting used to the coach. All of those different excuses. Those are the games you're meant to be winning. That is the problem you're meant to be solving. I asked the question whether Pirates, with the changes they've made, the players that they've brought in, have those players fundamentally changed what Pirates does, or have you upgraded in some places and made like-for-like changes in others? I asked about Tito and Mbule. Can you play Tito and Mbule in the same team for two players that need to have the ball, that need to play? Can you balance it without having a Makaula there? Can you play the type of game you want to play with Radio Pani, that he's dropping back and taking up spaces, but because he's a player that wants to go score, that wants to go play, it's very different to a Mahopa that's willing to sacrifice so that Aborile can go score. Do you have that? What system are you playing? How are you making sure that you're winning the games you are meant to be winning? Sekhukhune played an incredible game. I want to give them credit. I think what Sekhukhune showed us and what Chipa showed us earlier in the day versus Sundowns is that you can play positive football versus a Pirates, versus a Sundowns, and you can get a result. I'm loving the flip of attitude to realize that all of these teams have weaknesses that you need to be able to exploit. Knowing that Pirates struggles to get the ball up, let's press them a little bit more and win the ball back, force them to play reckless passes out so that we can win the ball. Sekhukhune was swallowing every single ball that was played out, because when Pirates is under pressure in the passing lanes, they all push forward and they wait for somebody to just miraculously play a pass out. Sekhukhune was winning that ball, countering immediately, and having Pirates at have lesser numbers in defense. So I want to give credit to Coach Grobler, who went, okay, let's go a little bit wider. Let's pull the defense apart so that we can take advantage of the spaces that are left when Hotto and Mashilwane leave. Let's make sure that when we win the ball back, because there's nobody standing there, we've got some room to play there. We can play some passes. At some point, Grobler was even winning the physical balls. So these are all the questions that Coach Ouaddou is going to have to answer. I think he's going to have to make sure that the rest of these players come on board Because I can tell you for free, Pirates will be up for the game this weekend. Pirates might be up for a lot of games in the league, but those are not the problems. The problem is going to be the games when Pirates is down, the games when there's excuses that you can make. Hey, even Vuliana. Hey, the weather's not right. Hey, the fans couldn't make it to the stadium. Well, it's a midweek game. It's a what. You have to be up for those games too. Those are the difference makers. It's not going to be an MTN8 game. It's not going to be a Nedbank Cup game because Pirates knows that those games are of consequence. But it's these games where you don't care or where it feels like it's not as important. Those are the games they give up. I'd love to see somebody come in. I love Mariko. Mariko needs to play more games because maybe he could allow Umbule to push a little bit forward and be creative from further up the pitch. I think his creativity is wasted when he's playing almost as a 6. An 8, but almost as a 6 because he's not venturing into the 10. Play him a little bit higher up. Allow Mariko and maybe Nduli then to deputize each other on the defensive roles, but to be able to play the ball up and get Mbule's creativity a little bit higher up the pitch. Maybe don't bring Radio Pani into the game. Have him play as a 9 so that he can suck in the 2 center backs and allow Aborile to make runs in behind. I want to see Apolis and Rile stretching defenses and going a little bit wider, so that Urile can get the one-on-ones he loves, so that Apolis can get the one-on-ones on that side and allow Mbule to follow up. Now, when it comes to Sekhukhune, as brave as Coach Tinkler was, I think he made a mistake taking out Krobla and bringing in Ohizu. I think he made a mistake taking out Mtambo because he sat a little bit too deep and allowed Pirates to come at them. And what sitting deep does is, if a team is struggling with the full pitch, where there's huge gaps between the defense, the midfield, and the attack, if you sit back, you allow them to condense that space, and then you give them the ability to play better with each other. Pirates was growing with confidence towards the end of that game, and I believe it's because bringing in Abo team and all of that disrupted what Sekhukhune was doing and made some spaces in the middle, where Pirates could now then flex a little. And if Pirates still had Mbule on the pitch, if Pirates still had a Tito on the pitch towards the end, maybe they could have gotten something from all of the movement that's happening. So there's a lot to work on with Pirates, and there's a lot of things that they need to fix if they well and truly say that they want to win the league. Because Mamelodi Sundowns last season got 1 draw. And if they fix things, this game could be the only 1 draw they have. They had 3 losses. All of those are points. And Pirates needs to make sure that they're making up that deficit to go win. And you don't play Mamelodi Sundowns 28 times. You play Mamelodi Sundowns twice. You have to go beat Sekhukhune. Sekhukhune has taken 3 points from Pirates right now. And well done to Sekhukhune for stepping up. That's how I want to end this video. Well done to Sekhukhune for stepping up and playing a positive game. Now also, don't play that game just versus Pirates. You have to play that game versus Chipa. You have to play that game versus Makesi, Durban City, so that we can see you guys progressing as well. Because that team, like I said, is a very strong team. And it's a low-key strong team that we're not taking advantage of. But guys, remember, the mistakes you make in a win are as important as the mistakes you make in a loss. Because if you don't fix those things, there comes along a team that can kill you. Pirates got killed because they played against a Sekhukhune team that was 1, willing to play, but then number 2, structured. And you're going to play those teams that are going to be structured, even if it's the once-off in the league or if you're going into the Champions League. You cannot repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again. Sekhukhune, carry on being structured and prepared for all of the teams. Guys, I'll see you on the next one.